Since the dawn of time, humankind has had one dream: to gather their friends and heroes to play games in front of their computers and to share it with the world. Now that dream is reality. Welcome to the Dreamstream.
The clock, so we're going to keep it moving and grooving. Gang, hello and welcome to the Fortunate Horse Dreamstream, the stream of your dreams. My name is Brennan Mulligan. I'll be your guide today as we play Wanderhome by Possum Creek Games, written by the amazing Jay Dragon. This is part of the No Dice, No Master system, or Belonging Outside Belonging game. It's an incredible tabletop that brings you on a fun, fancy-free, whimsical journey as fuzzy little critters wandering in the land of Heath with other fuzzy little critters. It's everything you could want for a whimsical pastoral fantasy. We are playing today with 4 titans of storytelling, 4 incredible players that I cannot wait to guide through the character creation process. That's right, 2 for the price of 1. You're getting character creation and actual play today. Let me go ahead and introduce in order. First of all, my friend and yours from Fun City on the Fortunate Horse stream, currently in their weirdo sci-fi arc of Float City, Mr. Nick Guercio.
Hello, all.
Amazing. Next up, this individual you know from the incredible Welcome to Night Vale, but also his most recent book, The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home. And he's got another book coming out this summer, The Halloween Moon. 2 books in 2 years. Holy moly. You got to check it out. Please welcome Mr. Joseph Fink.
Yeah. 2 books.
How about it? Welcome, Joseph. How are you doing today?
I am doing all right.
Incredibly wonderful to have you here. Coming up next, oh my goodness, all of you have got to check this out. You got to go support this new institution. We have one of the founders today of The Squirrel, New York's newest hot comedy theater with sketch characters and improv. An incredible community rallying around this amazing organization. They've got a live website now, streaming shows. You can go and help them raise money for a physical location once the plague is over. Please welcome Ms. Alex Song-Xia!
Thank you.
Woo, woo, woo. Alex, so excited for The Squirrel. Oh my goodness. Everyone go check out The Squirrel. If you're lucky enough to live within 3 states of New York City, the greatest and best city in the world, baby, you gotta go check out The Squirrel. I know I'll be back there watching shows as soon as it's open. And finally, my friend and yours, one of my favorite people to role play with, the Albie to my Cretus from Rude Tales of Magic. Please welcome Ms. Carly Monardo! Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
How you doing, Carly?
I'm great. I'm so glad we have sound, although I'm a little sad not to be a robot.
Well, again, we got a lot of story to tell and not too much time to tell it in, so I'm going to jump right in. First and foremost, Wanderhome is a tabletop role-playing game. It's a storytelling game. The point of this game is not for any of us to win, but instead we all succeed when we tell a beautiful and touching story. As with all tabletop things, I want to open up first for a discussion about safety mechanics, which are just the things we use to make sure that this game keeps us and the audience comfortable. Not only are we going to be using lines and veils and the X card in this game, which are great safety mechanics I encourage everybody here who's interested in gaming to look up. Wanderhome comes with some custom-built, incredible safety mechanics that I will be so hyped to tell you about right now. At any time during gameplay, we can use the following journeying tools to help us shape the story to be the best it can be for all of us and keep everyone feeling safe and comfy. First journeying tool is At any point in time, you can say, let's do this instead. Something in the game is not making you comfortable, it's not what you want to be doing. We just say, let's do this instead, and we all move and do that. Next journeying tool is, do we want to? This is if we have an idea for a big thing, a big story move, and we want to get buy-in from all the other players. We want to make sure that everyone's cool because we think this next thing might be a bit of a curveball. So we can always ask, do we want to do X? If we ever feel a little bit stuck or in a rut or stilted, we can always just ask, where to next? Where to next just means that we're going to keep moving out of the patch of story we find ourselves in. If we ever feel like maybe someone hasn't talked in a little while, we have a friend who we want their creative input, we want to hear their voice more in the story, we can always ask that person, what do you think? And that's going to enable us to make sure that we're all getting equitable time shared to tell this story. Those are some great questions we can ask. We can also just make some statements. We can always say, hold on, if we need to take a break for physical reasons, for biological reasons, for emotional reasons, whatever we want. We can always say no, a flat out no to whatever's happening, whatever offer's being made. We want to make sure the story's comfortable for all of us. And finally, you can always just walk away. If you're not digging what's happening, you can just walk away. These are all great tools for all of us. And Jay and the team at Possum Creek have done an incredible job of making these journeying tools. We're going to jump right into the collaborative effort here by talking about the world we're going to make a little bit. Today, I shall be your guide, which means that I am not going to have a single fuzzy little critter of my own, but instead we'll be playing the various kith, the other fuzzy little beasts that are for journeying animals meet on their journey. And I'll be coming up with the little towns and pastoral highways and byways that we see on our travels. I'm going to ask two big world questions before we jump into basically our individual characters and creating them. There's two big questions I want to ask right away, and to get buy-in from everybody about what the vibe we want this story to be in. Vibe question number one. Do we want this to be a real upbeat, raucous, and ruckusy journey with lots of shenanigans and hijinks? Or do we want a story that maybe has a little bit of tragedy or the melancholy to it? Maybe some more somber reflections on stirrings of the heart. How we feeling, gang?
I personally would love to stir some heart, but that's my vote.
Yeah.
I always lean sad.
I want to make everyone here sad.
Yeah.
Gang, you tuned in. I hope you got your laughs out when the horse videos were going on. Because we came to break some hearts, gang. Wonderful. I love that. So we're obviously we may have some goofs and spoofs along the way, but our intention at the outset is to include some tragedy and melancholy. Second world question. Do we want our story to focus on questions of the practical, the mundane, and the everyday? Do we want this to be a folksy story of a tried and true world? Or do we want a story that maybe focuses a little bit more on the magical and mysterious and questions of otherworldliness? What say all of us?
I like magic. I really like magic, so
We vibe in.
I also love magic.
Incredible. Well, gang, I'll be the third vote for magic in there, so that feels great to me. Tragedy and melancholy, magical and mysterious. Ooh. Gang, that's all I need to get my brain turning. We're going to jump right into character creation. We have a list of playbooks here. The big first choices we're going to come up with are choosing the playbook for your character, which is sort of the archetype of the character. And quickly you're going to come up with a name and pronouns for your character and what their animal type is. And we'll kind of go through that all together. Real quick, I am going to lead us through what we should expect of these archetypes. I'm going to run through a quick summary of each playbook. These are just one little sentence things here, but these are all the different types of characters you can play in the Heath. I'll go through it super fast. We have the caretaker. The caretaker pays attention and tends to the small and forgotten gods, helping each one find a home. The dancer opens up to all the magical and strange forces in the world, inviting them to dance and exist in the moment. The exile, banished from their homeland, the exile travels through the Heath, looking for somewhere that can take them in and help them heal. The firelight is accompanied by a firefly that lights their path and helps guide people through the world. The fool is unused to and unfamiliar with the complicated and tangled world outside and approaches everything with the same naive optimism. The guardian takes care of a ward, a young child with a difficult past and in desperate need of care. The moth tender assists the carrier moths that fly across the heath, delivering letters and parcels to everyone who needs it. The peddler transports supplies and wares from place to place, ensuring that each community has access to everything they need to survive. In search of a faraway place, the pilgrim is carried by their faith and desire to reach a home that might not even exist. The poet is a writer using their journeys as inspiration for their project, trying to tie together the threads that intertwine the history of this land with their own heart. The ragamuffin is a little rascal of a kid who just wants to cause problems and have fun. The shepherd tends to a herd of bumblebees, keeping an eye out with them as they travel to different pastures. Oh yes, a little note about the heath is that because all the people are animals, all the things that would usually be animals are bugs. So like horses are big beetles, cows and sheep are bumblebees.
She's
That's
crying.
so sweet. It's so nice.
It's so nice. This game slaps. It's very, very good. The teacher is a traveling professor who visits kids throughout the heath to instruct them on specialized knowledge and hidden secrets. The vagabond was once convicted by a faraway and cruel authority and has been forced to reinvent themselves on the road. The veteran was once a great hero who held the entire world on the tip of their blade. No longer. These are the playbooks of Wanderhome. And what I would love to hear is, does anyone here have a strong idea of who they want to be?
Yes.
Yeah, please go.
Oh, wait. Nick.
Carly, you.
Charlie.
Carly.
Moth tender. I want to be a moth tender.
Carly,
Real bad.
Could you please scroll on down to the Moth Tender playbook? If you could find that, and that's going to be your little home base on our game document here. And what I would love for you is just to read the first two little chunks up there about moth tenders.
Sure. Carrier moths travel across heath, bringing news, letters, and tiny boxes. You wander the land, keeping an eye on these moths and their towers. You are alive. Your care is consistent, prompt, and arrives in small packages.
Incredible! Could we get a name and some pronouns, and then what animal type you want to be as well?
Yes. I'm going to be a little bat named Merlin, and my pronouns will be he, him.
He, him, perfect. Merlin the bat, we love him. Incredible. And we'll go just to get an idea of everybody here first. We're going to come back for the bigger, meatier character creation here in a moment. Nick, you said you had a character idea. What's your character idea?
Unless anybody else wants it, I'm happy to defer. I would love to be the shepherd. I think tending some bumblebees would be, well.
Incredible. Could you go ahead to the shepherd and read off the beginning two little chunks there about the shepherd?
Let me give you those two little chunks.
Chunk it out, Nick.
Herds of chubby bumblebees can be found across heath, and tending to these flocks is simple, honest work. You are alive. Your care is measureless, watchful, and gentle.
Amazing. And could we get a name, pronouns, and what type of animal you are?
Yes. I am Elder Tuck. I am a ram, and I go by the pronouns of the he and the him.
Lovely. Elder Tuck, the ram shepherd. We absolutely love it. Do we have anyone else that has an idea about what they want their character?
Yeah, I think
Alex.
so.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be a ragamuffin.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I tell you
Alex,
what.
Alex, could you please read off the first two bits of the Ragamuffin playbook?
Yeah, let's see. Ragamuffin. Run, scream, play, steal, and above all, live. You are alive. Your care is young, exuberant, and naive.
Incredible. Could we get a name, pronouns, and your animal type?
Yes. I will be Jace. That's spelled Jace. Pronouns they, them, and I'll be a little raccoon.
Oh.
Incredible! I love it. Amazing.
Oh wait, do I have to be from this list? I didn't realize. List of animals?
I actually think, you know what? On the list of animals, you will see a cute animal or a young animal.
Okay.
Raccoon fully qualifies you for.
Great.
I think nothing could be less in the spirit of this game than for me to really harshly enforce. Alex, do you see raccoon on the list there? I don't know what the hell.
Don't. But I'm gonna be one because I'm a ragamuffin.
Incredible. And Joseph, which of these playbooks is speaking out to you?
Some like deep part of my Jewish soul really likes the peddler.
Hell yes. Love it. Love it. Amazing. Would you be kind enough to go out and read the first two beginning bits of the peddler?
The road is long and filled with merchants, traders, and everyone else doing their part to make sure everywhere in the heath is provided for. No one's home can stand alone. You are alive, your care is material, solid, and dependable.
Oh, beautiful. And if we can get a name, animal type, and pronouns.
I think I'm going to go... I kind of panicked when you said name because I had not thought about that at all. I think I'm going to... Zach. Let's go. Perfect. Zach, he, him. And I think I want to be a Highland cattle. Have you the like ones with the long hair?
Oh, the coos, the big shaggy like auburn kind of. Oh, and they have the hair that hangs down in front of their eyes. Big shout out to Rekha Shankar, who is a huge fan of the Highland cow. Perfect. Oh, what a dream team! So we have Merlin, the moth tender bat. Elder Tuck, the shepherd ram, Jace, the ragamuffin raccoon, and we have Zach, the Highland cow peddler. Amazing. Oh, this is so good. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to get into the nitty gritty of it. I'm going to go back and we'll go in the order we announced characters in. So feel free, guys, to simultaneously listen to what your fellow journeyers are saying, but also kind of meditate on some of your options on your playbook. So we're going to shoot on back to Moth Tender. And there's these playbooks are immaculately put together to just make really cool character decisions, a really easy part of getting right into the game. Moth Tender. We have a little list of traits here, and we'll just go through and do a couple of these for each one of us, and we'll just go through them lightning round style. Carly, yes. For Merlin, the moth tender bat, you have a little list of traits there. We don't have to read these lists fully off. We'll just go with your choices, but please choose two of these traits that your job asks you to be, and two that you actually are.
Okay. I think so. I think my job asks me to be studious and strong.
Incredible.
And I think what I actually am is trusting and proper.
I love that. Incredible. We're going to then go to the next list, and I just want you to choose 3 or 4 of these options to describe your look.
Okay. Oh my God, they're all wonderful. Okay, definitely a lantern, the map of local moth towers, and a finely tailored tie, and it's a bow tie.
It's very cute.
It's a bat and a bow tie.
What more could you want?
What more could you want? Incredible. In the next part of the list, please choose 3 letters or packages you're carrying with you.
A wax sealed love letter. I didn't even read the rest. That's just a definite. Sorry.
No worries.
Ooh, a scroll of ancient and mysterious magic.
Incredible.
And a letter checking in from an old friend.
Love it. For our next choice here, and for each, choose where they're going. Whenever a letter or package reaches its destination, choose another.
Oh, cool. Okay, so a wax sealed love letter for a poetic blue jay I once dated.
Oh.
A the scroll of ancient and mysterious magic for a chill old farmer with a big family.
Incredible.
And a letter checking in from an old friend for the proper mayor of a hidden village.
Incredible. Amazing. And then finally, from this last list, before we move on to the next character, choose one you would devote your life to protecting and
Ooh.
one that's in danger of falling apart. Tell the table about them.
Okay. And when I tell the table about them, do I do it in? I'm assuming I do it in character.
You can absolutely, whatever's more comfortable for you. You can do it in character, or you can just elaborate on what it means to Merlin specifically.
Okay. I have a decoder for the secret moth tending cipher. It's an ancient relic gifted by my imaginative mentor. I want to be just like my mentor. He's just the most perfect moth tender. He's proper, he's strong. And I just feel like I have so much to learn from him, even when I'm not with him, that like having the decoder for the secret cipher just sort of feels like he's with me, even when he's not.
Incredible. I love that so much. And I'm going to say that your mentor is a very old billy goat named
Cretus.
named Cretus. We're gonna name him Houston. Houston the billy goat. Incredible. And what's one that's in danger of falling apart?
A pink orchid, that's how I say that word. A pink orchid, constantly reminding me of the promises I made to my fellow revolutionaries. And it's at risk of falling apart for the simple reason that I'm constantly holding it and turning it in my hand and renewing those promises. So
incredible. What a strong picture we have of Merlin right away, just trying to do right by all these people. Oh, sweet Merlin. Incredible. Nick, we're going to move right along to Elder Tuck, the shepherd, and do some of this awesome character creation here as well. From that first list, please choose two you still are these days and two you're just not anymore.
So the two that I still am these days are reliable and fatherly. And things that I'm just not anymore is hurried and young.
Wow. Incredible. Oh, what a strong picture. This character creation engine is unreal. Please choose 3 to 4 of this next list to describe your look.
Sure. Uncle Tuck has a shepherd's crook, a woolen cloak, and an old-fashioned pipe. And he always carries around the copy of this year's almanac.
Incredible. Amazing. You have a herd of bumbles.
Mm-hmm.
Choose up to 5 bugs you can always pick out from the crowd.
Yes. I have 4 that I've chosen here. One is the oldest in the herd, gray and slow. The cutest bumble in the herd, who loves head pats. It's just a little ball of fluff I call Benny. And we have the luckiest bumble in the herd, who keeps bumbling out of control. They're adventurous. And I could always pick out the most anxious bumble in the herd, who always needs encouragement. They're lost and or nervous.
Oh my God, incredible 4 bugs. Minnie is the cutest, and I shall be sure to come up with names for the rest of these amazing bumbles that stick out of the herd for sure. From our next list, choose one that stays by your side and one that you need to let go of and tell the table about them.
Sure. The first is an almanac given by my cheerful brother, who grows increasingly inaccurate. Um, I love my almanac. I listen to it like it's gospel, but it's never right. And the other is a handkerchief given to me by my first kiss. That's something that I have to let go of. We were both children, and the life of a shepherd doesn't lead to a life of love most often. A lot of times when I'm guiding my bumbles, I might have to go up to 1 or 2 miles per week. So you can imagine there's just no way to have a love life like that. So I need to let go of that handkerchief. But I always keep that almanac by my side.
Oh, incredible! And for Jace, our ragamuffin, they are
Whoa.
our little raccoon scamp. Let's go ahead and from that first list, choose 2 that you are and 2 that you refuse to be.
All right. Well, you know I'm attentive and adorable, but I refuse to be respectful or scared.
Oh, I love
Refuse to be respectful or scared. Incredible. Please choose 3 to 4 from the next list to describe your look.
All right. Well, I'll have a cap that's always worn backwards. I'll always have flowers in hand. Flowers forever in hand is what that says.
Mhm.
And I got my stomping boots on.
Incredible. We love that. Choose 2 life lessons you've been taught and 2 you have rejected.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I believe this. Authority figures cannot be trusted, and your heroes will always let you down.
Oh!
2 I've rejected. So I don't believe you can't stop the world from hurting you. I think you can. And I don't believe your parents made you who you are now.
Oh.
But I won't talk about that further.
this kid rules.
Abs, we love them. Amazing. And then finally, choose from this next list, choose 1 you carry with you openly and 1 you carry with you secretly. Tell the table about them.
Okay. I carry with me openly dreams about a vast and bloody war, always centered around a powerful hero. I carry secretly a necklace with a painting of my birth family in it.
Oh God, we are keeping the heartbreaking promise right away. Amazing. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go to the peddler, and I'm going to ask Joseph to answer some of these questions here. Joseph, please from this first list here, choose 2 that you are and 2 that you feel you need to be.
So I think I am watchful and experienced, and I feel like I need to be thrifty and stern.
Need to be thrifty and stern. Incredible. And from this next list here, please choose 3 to 4 to describe your look.
I'm going to go with patched up mustard cloak,
Oh.
a once fancy hat, ledgers that I'm just going to add I never bothered to update anymore, and a fine silk handkerchief that's too nice to ever use.
Oh, incredible. You have a sturdy and resolute beetle who carries your supplies on its back. Choose 4 wares you regularly barter with and tell the table which is the one you value most.
Okay, so I've got honey, wool, and anything else created by bugs. I've got toys, dolls, and anything else that brings joy wherever I go. I've got incense, statues, and anything else that appeases the many small and forgotten gods. And this is the one I value the most, is I have gossip, secrets, and anything else valued by the rebellion.
Oh, incredible.
Hot goss.
So we have 2 little things that mention the rebellion now, which I really kind of love. This is great. Incredible. We also got to come up with a name for your beetle too. And by the way, I'm happy to come up with names as we play, but especially for our peddler and shepherd, I defer to you if you wish to name your beetle or bugs. Absolutely.
My beetle is named Knick-Knack.
Oh, incredible. Oh, I love a big beetle named Knick-Knack full of honey and wool and toys and incense and statues, and his wonderful friend Zach with secrets. I love this. And then finally, choose one you'll never abandon and one you parted with a long time ago. Tell the table about them.
Okay, so the one I'll never abandon is I have a map that leads to wealth beyond anyone's imagination, given by an old friend before they disappeared, and I keep this as a memento of the old friend. I have no plans to ever go looking for that wealth. I just like to look at it and imagine going on that adventure with a friend.
Incredible! I love that. And the one you parted with a long time ago.
I'm gonna also go orchid. I had a wilted orchid that was a sign of my time helping the rebellion that I threw away when I stopped believing in the cause.
Oh boy.
Oh.
Wow. Ooh, some
Unfortunately.
interesting Jason Zach parallels here, I gotta say. Incredible. Well, we've established absolutely the vast majority of our characters. The only character creation stuff really left are going to be ways that we stitch these characters together. These characters may not have all set out at the beginnings of their journey together, but they certainly find themselves journeying now. I very quickly also want to bring attention to the central mechanic of this game, which are the moves that we can do by getting or spending tokens. These tokens just represent sort of the flow of storytelling within the game. And when tokens are taken or when tokens are spent, it really just indicates that there is a certain amount of emphasis being put on this move within the story. Things that all characters can do. Any character gets a token whenever you inconvenience yourself to help someone else, give away something you hold dear, pause for a moment and get some rest, leave an offering to a small or forgotten god, speak your true feelings on a subject, take a moment to bask in the grandeur of the world and describe it to the table, take a moment to watch a tiny moment of beauty and describe it to the table, take a moment to marvel at something no one has ever seen before and ask the table to describe it. You may spend a token in order to provide a solution for an aspect of a material or immediate problem, ease someone's pain, if only for a moment, keep someone safe from the difficulties of the world, offer someone the chance to connect with you on a personal level, find what someone needs to give them a chance to change fundamentally, reveal something hidden about the person in front of you and ask them what it is, know something important about the place you're in and tell the table about it, listen to the shared wisdom of the many small and forgotten gods, and ask the table what they tell you. Incredible. So those are available to everyone at any time. And what you will each also notice here in your playbook is a list of some things you can always do. These are, in a sense, powers of your character, even though the powers of them are sometimes just in very small and simple and heartfelt things. So we're going to start real quick, and this will be the last thing we do before we jump into sort of actually playing together. Carly, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and read. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and read the some things you can always do from the Moth Tender playbook. And then I'm going to ask you to ask some questions. But first, go ahead and give us the list of things that you can always do.
Okay, I really love these. Follow the moths, fidget, write something down on a piece of paper, tell everyone what phase the moon is in right now, ask, have you heard the news? Say, I have a letter for you. And they get a token if they accept the letter.
Incredible. Now, what I would like you to do is ask one question to the left, and I'd like you to ask one question to the right. For our purposes, Joseph is going to be on your left, and Nick is going to be on your right. So I'd like you to ask one.
Flipped.
Yes. Oh no. Yeah. So one question of Nick from this list and one question of Joseph from this list.
Okay, and Joseph is on my left.
Yes.
He's on my because on my Zoom he's here. I'm sorry. My god.
The game assumes we're all sitting at a table together.
That makes sense.
You know what? Forget left and right. Ask
Okay,
one of these
perfect.
questions to Joseph and ask one of these questions to Nick.
Thank you. I'm so bad at that. Okay. To Joseph, I'm going to say, when did I realize I could trust you?
I guess the first time we met, when you heard about my history with the rebellion, I felt okay sharing that with you. I felt I could trust you with that, and in that secret, we were bonded.
Thank you, brother. And then to Nick, I will say, do you think the moths are as beautiful as I do?
And Uncle Tuck raises his head, pulls back the hood of his robe, and says, "I've never seen such beauty in this world as those star-white moths dancing in the stars."
Amazing.
Single tear.
Single tear. Incredible. And with that, Merlin is complete. Yay. We're going to scoot on down to the shepherd. Nick, could you go ahead and read the shepherd's list of moves you can always do?
Yes. A shepherd can always pat a bumble on its head. A shepherd could always stare off into the distance. I can make an offhand observation that turns out to be correct. I can always rest my back against something and take a moment to breathe. I can always say the phrase, "They're friendly, don't fret." I can always ask, "Can I teach you something someone once taught me?" And they'll get a token if they say yes and learn from the old Elder Tuck.
Amazing. And if you could ask one of these questions to Carly and one of them to Alex.
Okay. Carly, what did you do that made Elder Tuck trust you with his herd?
I mended one of the injured legs of one of your favorite bumbles.
Oh, I appreciated that. And Alex, why should I trust you less than I do?
Because I haven't apologized for everything yet.
Lack of apology. All right, put that down.
Incredible! And that is Elder Tuck. With that, we're going to scoot right on down to Jace the Ragamuffin. Jace, could you go ahead and read your list of some things you can always do?
All right, some things I can always do. Get distracted, get really invested in a new interest, blurt out a secret, somehow manage to squeeze myself out of trouble, ask, "Do you want to hang out with me?" And they get a token if they say yes. And I can also ask, "Do you want to see something really cool?" And they get a token if they say yes.
Please ask one of the questions here to Nick and one of them to Joseph.
Okay. Joseph, how do you feel about the fact that I've decided you're my new parent?
Part of me deep down feels flattered, but I also feel disconnected from a lot of the people around me. So I'm very nervous and kind of trying to keep a distance that I'm failing at keeping distance.
That's the kind of attachment I'm used to.
Yep.
And Nick, what do I do that really, truly next level gets on your nerves?
You feed my bumbles all kinds of things that they should not be eating, but they will eat anything. I think you fed one of them like a handful of corks once, which is not good for their coat.
Amazing. And finally, Joseph, would you go ahead and read the list of things that Zach the peddler is always able to do?
I can know someone who can help. I can intensely examine something. I can sit down and do the math. I can trade for or trade away one of my many wares. I can ask, what can I do for you? Or I can say, I have a deal for you, and give them a token if they hear it out and consider it.
Incredible. And if you could ask one question to Carly and one to Alex.
Okay. Carly, how do I help you decompress when the days are long?
Oh, I think you look up at the sky with me and you help me sort of just remind myself where we are, which constellations are what phase of the moon. You just like talk about the sky with me and I feel like in the right place again.
That sounds peaceful. Alex, what do you give me that I can't get anywhere else?
Someone who'll always see you positively.
Oh.
Wow. Incredible. Well, I'm already fully in love with this band of adventurers off on their whirlwind journey. That's character creation fully done. Once again, we're about to jump into play, and I actually just have 4 semi-sacred questions to ask before we begin. This is the final little ritual act before we jump into play itself. And these 4 questions are as follows. And I need the answer, even though from this point on, I'll take care of most of the world building stuff. I need these answers from all of us. What sort of place did we just travel from?
What about like an ancient city?
Yeah.
Ancient city.
I was thinking city.
Amazing. From an ancient city. This ancient city, is it ancient but still very populated, or is it sort of a shadow of what it once was?
I think it's
feel
a
like
shadow.
It's on the downturn. No,
Yeah.
I was agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. Ancient city on the downturn. And we're going to call that place, that's the city of Hightower, and it's on the downturn. Do we feel, second question, do we feel our journey has been long?
I feel like maybe we're still in early days of traveling together.
I dig that. The early days of traveling together. So perhaps, since just before the city of Hightower, and we have emerged here in this place, is there, third question, is there somewhere that we hope to go?
I kind of want to go to like a small coastal village somewhere by the sea.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah.
Small coastal village by the sea. Incredible. Question number 4. And this one, I do not need an answer for, but I need all 4 of you to answer it only for yourselves. The question that you must silently answer for your own character is, where is my home? Consider that for a moment. And with that, we are going to begin play. A wind blows over snow-capped hills that jut up from the ground, their steep sides seemingly juxtaposed by the roundness and snow-covered quietness of their tops. Tiny little gravel-strewn paths migrate hither and yon through the snowy hills in this, the month of snow blanket, as the season of chill has just begun. A large wagon moves along the roadside with a stranger that you have met on the road coming through just here. The wagon is pulled by one large, very fuzzy woolly bear caterpillar, and sitting on the coachman's seat at the front is a hare wearing a little scrunched up tam between his long ears, and this is Horace the hare. Horace is traveling to the town of Bristlebroom by the side of a large river not far from here. You are about 3 days outside of the last wall of Hightower. Having traveled in this way, the snow clings there, and the sky is that ominous light gray, as though the sky might roil up a snowstorm at any moment. But today's actually quite clear and brisk. There is no sign of any precipitation, and yet the snow stubbornly clings to everywhere. But the road, which you see has enough wheel ruts that have gone through it, and enough people have passed by this place. The sort of area where the altitude of the high hills has kept the snow that has long since been tramped away by the feet of travelers, merchants, and pilgrims. As Horace chews on a little piece of some cud-like grass mixture that he likes to chew, and the caterpillar wends along, where is everybody else in relation to their livestock, the wagon, as you all journey on the road together?
I'm flying very low to the ground, and I'm keeping an intense, watchful eye on my moths, who are blending into the white-gray sky.
You see, yeah, as moths land, you see one of them lands on a hillside, fully disappears against the white of the snow, and there's that momentary onset of panic. The moths are very playful right now in the snow, and they're also very furry moths. They're those moths that do have a nice coat to keep them warm. And where else do our companions find themselves here on the road?
Jace is in the back feeding rocks to to the bumblebees.
The oldest bumblebee, with a little bit of gray in its coat, slowly, you can see, moves the rock to the back of his mouth, back down a little further, swallows it, stands still for a moment, and immediately falls over to one side, completely nauseous, not feeling great. Where else is everybody in this moment?
Elder Tuck is back there as well. He doesn't notice this because many of his bumbles don't like to acknowledge that there's snow. They hover kind of at a fixed sort of 12 inches above the ground, grazing on pastures. And some of them have just taken to sort of just moving through the snow drifts as if they weren't even there, burying themselves. So Uncle Tuck is busy getting them out of the snow and trying to encourage them to float above the snow and follow along.
Amazing. And finally, where is Zach, the peddler?
Zach is trudging along next to Knick-Knack. He's just trying to make sure that Knick-Knack doesn't get bogged down in the snow because he's carrying a lot of things. We just came from a city where I did a lot of trade, so I have a fairly burdened beetle right now, and I'm feeling pretty good about the cold weather because I have that long hair, so I tend to overheat when it's any warmer.
Yes, that's true. Your large horns out to either side as you put a reassuring hand on Knick-Knack. Knick-Knack lumbers along through the snow, and with those 6 giant beetle legs, 2 of them are always stock still. Like somewhere on the beetle, there's those 2 legs that are just holding up the load while the rest get into position. So it's a real... he's got a long stride, but it's a real pace for him to get moving. You hear a familiar as he moves along. And you see Jace up in the back of the wagon. Even though Ollie, the oldest of these bumbles that is completely keeled over and is now just like regretting eating this rock as it just sits in his stomach, you see that the other bumbles all sort of do that like 12 inches above the ground. And it seems to be irrespective of what's on the ground. Like they stay 12 inches above the ground. And if there's a snowbank, they're going through the snowbank. It's not like they're judging it from where they can see. It's from wherever the real ground is. So you see a bunch of them come through a snowbank and begin to sort of mob around you, Jace, in order to get whatever other rocks you have. They seem to see that there's some kind of rock feeding and they want to get in on it.
Jay starts panicking and trying to just feed as many as possible, but then runs out of rocks.
Elder Tuck sees this. He doesn't realize you're feeding them, so he uses one of his signature powers and says, "They're friendly. Don't fret."
Elder Tuck, as you give this warm piece of advice to Jace, you see that your herd of bumbles is split between about half of the bumbles that look truly hurt that a rock has not been saved for them, and another half that just look truly hurt. In this moment, you see Horace up at the top turns around and says, "All right, man. See, what's all the hubbub back there? The wagon's slowing down. Ain't these bumbles supposed to be able to fly?"
They fly their way. You crawl yours.
Well, my caterpillar can't take 10 bumbles lying down in the wagon. Why? And all this extra weight. My poor caterpillar's not that big. What's the problem? These bumbles should be taking a turn pulling the wagon.
Well, some of them.
Can I intensely examine them?
Yeah.
Yes, Zach, you go ahead and intensely examine these and immediately perceive that this is not laziness, but instead a medical situation that has befallen the wagon here.
Yeah, these bumblebees are not my problem, but they're definitely someone's problem. And it's a problem that should be solved.
Thank you so much for your help.
Anytime.
Let me see. I don't know why they just had a rest. I don't know why they would be laying down here. He looks over at Jace and he goes, "You wouldn't know anything about this, would you, Jace?"
No, it's like Zach said, it's definitely someone's problem.
Right. Okay, I get it. Everybody, it's my problem. They're my bumbles. I understand.
I just want to say that I know what Jace did, and I'm not telling.
What? Jace, have you been feeding these bumbles again?
Or I think, wait, what is what Zach is saying that he has
Yes,
perceived?
sorry, that was I'm very bad at
Oh, I
voices,
see.
so I'm not doing a character voice. I apologize. That was just me explaining that I perceived what Jace did, but I have enough loyalty not to say.
Oh, your child.
A conspiratorial glance arises between Zach and Jace. What's Jace feeling in this moment as you know your ruse has been detected, but appears to have no commentary yet? What is Jace feeling in this moment?
Jace feels incredible warmth towards Zach and no remorse.
From up above, a little round in the bend occurs, and you come around the big warm belly of this snow-covered hill to perceive a valley extending out in front of you. Had you been here in the summer months, you would have seen these completely round, tall, dramatically steep hills covered in agricultural squares with like different patches of different shades and textures of green, and the squares doing a very bad job of covering these very round hills. So you'd see the corner of someone's square like drooping dramatically as the geometry of the hills doesn't conform to the actual patches of what is being grown here. But instead of that higgledy-piggledy square field round hill conundrum, you instead see the kind of gray uniformity of a quiet winter. At the base of this little nest of hills, you see the town of Bristlebroom, which is on a river, but where the river comes in through a steep series of waterfalls that drop into a suddenly very deep lake, you see that Bristlebroom is a little bit of a larger town because it has what is the last deep water harbor. This is the last place that ships coming up from, the mouth of the river all the way at the sea come to this place. And for some here who dream of a coastal town, and see the depth of the deep steel gray, dark blue winter harbor means that there might be a ship that could take you downriver to the sea. In addition to the actual town itself, which its normal hustle and bustle of port activity is quieted by the early weeks of a snow blanket. You see a couple other sights here. Little farmhouses clinging to the sides of the steep hills. You see a strange little home up on one hill with a weather vane and also little puffs of brightly colored smoke, yellow and blue, things of that nature, that has a little flag with writing on it overhead that you cannot tell what the flag says from this distance. The last two things are less fanciful than the busy, at times and now somewhat quiet port, or the small little smoke puffing house on the hill. On a far distant hill, at the top of the waterfalls that go down the hillsides into the lake where the flat river stretches away towards the sea, the top of those waterfalls is a dark and lonely tower in the style that you recognize from the old imperial towers that you have just come from in this place. And up above you, at the top of the hill that you are just at, in the foreground of what you can see, is a mound of cairn stones with a single long lance rusted over by the snow and a small flag that is tattered and worn and picked apart at this point, commemorating some battle that was fought here. Perhaps not days ago, perhaps not weeks or even months ago, but sometime in living memory. As you round the corner, what do you think? What do you feel? And of course, what would you like to do?
I think that Merlin notices one of the flight patterns of his moths change a little bit as they notice the lance into the stone. Mm-hmm. And he sadly says, "Oh, a letter," and watches the moth put the letter on the stone.
A furry Arctic moth flutters up and leaves a letter on the stone for the person who may not be able now to receive it, at least in this world. And I'm going to say that everybody here can take a token for witnessing a small moment of beauty, as sad as it may be, in the completion of a task. Yes, the moth flies up and deposits that letter on the cairn stones. And usually the moth comes back down somewhat excitedly, as though it had discovered something. And you see it has a few little orchid seeds. There's little sort of like I forget what they're called, the stamen or something like that. Yeah, these sort of little rods from the center of an orchid that have dried out and from the cairn stones, and sort of buzzes over and hands them to you.
Oh, I take them and I wrap them in a spare bit of fabric I have, and I tuck it into my wing, and I pat it, and it's in a place next to my orchid.
I love that. You tuck it away, and I think Zach and Jace both notice the type of orchid from which that stamen comes, and it is quite familiar to you. For the rest of you, Horace does not appear unfamiliar with this scenic view, and so has no sense of wonder or trepidation. However, you are seeing this place for the first time. Do you continue apace with Horace heading towards Bristlebroom, or are there any actions you take here at the top of the crest before the road descends down to the town itself?
Uncle Tuck has finally figured out that there are rocks in the bees. So he's unfortunately missing all the grandeur getting these rocks out of the bees. It's not hard to do, but it is.
Yeah, all of you witness Elder Tuck with a very quick finesse, but doing an unpleasant task. There's some trick in the wrists to it all of just.
Yes. It's a tickle and a scratch, and then they kind of spit it up.
A little clattering of rocks descends. Elder Tuck, you're familiar enough with this situation to know that as the bumbles cough up the rocks, bumbles have enough good sense not to eat the rock they just spit up again,
Yes.
but they don't make the connection to the other rocks they see getting spit up. So there is a little bit of having to box them out of going like, well, certainly that rock made me feel bad, but there's nothing to indicate that this next rock would do the same thing. So there's a lot of trying to eat other people's spit up rocks in this moment.
Right.
Jace turns to Elder Tuck and just whispers, "Your bumbles are dumb."
Zach sees that Jace is maybe going to get themselves in trouble here. So Zach says, "Jace, get over here and help me with knick-knack."
I'd love to.
To kind of try to head off the situation, but also be kind of stern about it.
You come over to help with Knick-Knack, who, again, Knick-Knack, an absolute pro going uphill. Going downhill, there's some improvement that could be done. And so Knick-Knack very anxiously begins the long journey down. And as you arrive, a little bit of cold wind is kicking up, which you were thankful not to have in the high altitude at the tops of the hills. Would have cut right through your cloak into your bones. But you do feel wind now as you reach the bottom of the valley. And if you're feeling it down here, it definitely means it's moving fast up above. As you arrive down here, you see it fades slowly into town. You notice there are some farmhouses close by. The agriculture of this place is not really kept separate from the smithies and journey folk and other things like that. It sort of fades in one to the other. You see a little roadside tavern, and moving inward, you also see some more, buildings. The center of town actually does have like 2 and even some 3-story buildings in it. And you begin to hear some caroling and singing from the little songs at the beginning of winter up ahead. You also can see that many candles are being lit around the town as the beginning of some local festival commences. What's first on your priority? It's been a long journey here. What would you travelers like to do?
I gotta get my moths away from those candles, otherwise we're never gonna stay on schedule.
Uncle Tuck noticed that when some of the rocks came out, they were covered in a very thick, rich frost honey. It's the honey that comes in the winter months, and so he knows that these bumbles are ready to give their first honey for the winter, which is actually something they have, festivals for back where he's from. But he needs to find an apiary in order to get this honey out and bottled and ready for sale.
As you start looking around for an apiary, you see a farmhouse door opens. Wearing a kerchief with a wide flower-covered apron on, holding a rolling pin, is a beautiful farmhouse possum woman who has about 6 or 7 kids just clinging to the front of her body, shoulders. And she walks out, and you see she rings a bell on the front and calls out and says, Jim, dinner time's coming around. You better get ready, get back on in here. Wearing a wide straw hat, you see Jem, the sort of possum farmer, looks down at his wife and says, "Thank you kindly, Susie." Expecting maybe some other situation, you see that the possum dad, also covered in children clinging to his body, he appears to be able to have found a way to do chores and farm work. But you do see at the top of the barn you see that the rafters of their barn are not filled with hay, and you do see actually have some kind of loose chicken wire that definitely could be used for an apiary. Could be used to have a comb and get this first honey out.
Merlin clocks the farmer, clocks that he's chill, and it's like, and snaps his fingers and summons the moth carrying the scroll of ancient and mysterious magic that he believes is destined for this farmer.
Incredible. This is one of your oldest and greatest scrolls here. This message has been a long time coming. The moth flies down to you and, as it has been trained to do, deposits this scroll into your hand. The smell from it is like that of the best old paperback book sitting in a secondhand, in a library for so long, of dust and knowledge and the smell of worn paper, and it feels potent with potential in your hand. For Merlin and Elder Tuck, that both see some sort of opportunity here in this farmhouse, you guys see that Hortus the hare heads off and says, "Right, I'm headed to the port. If any of you want a good drink, you got to come down to the Stag, which is right down there. They got good shepherd's pie, good food, good victuals, and drink for any who want them. And they sing songs. It's a great time. You raise your glass."
Sir, I still can't understand a word you're saying.
You can sing songs. Sing songs.
Seesaws. That sounds marvelous.
Do you know of a good seesaw near here?
I'm new to the area.
Oh, that's right, you travelers, yeah? Well, listen, I wouldn't hold your breath for a seesaw, but if you want to sing songs, and you sing some down by there without a seesaw, I'll tell you that right now. That's
if you ever
free.
need a seesaw, I can get you one. I have a good deal on those.
You see that he actually looks up and says, "Really?" Says, honestly, the wagon's always more space than I need. It'd be nice to have some recreation back there. Do you have what would you want for a nice seesaw?
Oh, that's a good question. Could you get us passage to the sea for a seesaw?
He says, "Passage on a ship." He's like, "Let me go down here. I know all the old river captains and everyone like that goes down to trade. If you're looking for the next leg of your journey," and he looks at you kind of like without food and a lot of you guys have some worn clothes. He says, "For a couple of seesaws, mate, I'll tell you right now, you can get, the right people with a good seesaw. Throw in a jungle gym, maybe a sandbox, and we're on our way, pal. Let me do the talking." And Joseph, Zach can go ahead and take another token for offering a deal and having the person consider it. So you see Hortus heads off to go start brokering this engagement for the passage on your guys' next part of the journey. For everyone else, you see this farmer sort of trudging through the snow, hefting his many children, half of his many children, or maybe a smaller fraction than that, off through the snow. What do you say, especially the two people that sort of have business here? What do you say?
First, I whisper to the moth that was carrying this particular letter. Mm-hmm. So I just to clarify, I'm like, "So you think Jem, that's his name? Does it say? It doesn't say on the letter, but it says chill magician. Okay, chill farmer. Okay, he seems chill. There's a lot of kids and he's not breaking a sweat over there. Oh, if you're sure. Okay, I trust you." And I give him a little kiss, and then I take the letter and I start strolling over to the door.
The moth with the kiss blushes tremendously and does a little loop-de-loop in the air before rejoining. And you see the other moths form a little audience. Maybe this moth it seems like the moth is holding court. It's like, "Can you believe I got that kiss? Incredible." So you head over with the scroll. The farmer tips his straw hat. He has the sort of outer piece of clothing is a thick plaid woolen sort of like farmer's long, one of those coats that is longer than the waist but doesn't, sort of cuts off right above the knee. And tips
T length.
Yes. Tips his wide straw hat, and he says, "Afternoon, travelers, and welcome to Bristlebroom. A pleasure to have you. I see I now behold one of Heath's finest moth tenders. Thank you for your task, my friend.
Oh, I aspire, Mr. Gem. May I call you Gem?
Please do. All my friends do, and I count any moth tender plying his noble trade as a friend. What can I call you, traveler?
Oh, you may call me Merlin.
Merlin, a pleasure and an honor. Welcome, welcome. Can I direct you as to where your fine messages may be delivered here in fine old Bristlebroom?
Well, sir, I believe this one may actually be for you, though I'm not sure who sent it. I'm merely in charge of its care.
You see that the farmer looks at the scroll. Um, you see he extends a hand out and says, "Well, I'll be. I don't. I don't reckon I've seen something like this before in my life." Would anyone here describe themselves as paying close attention to the farmer in this moment?
Definitely.
Yeah, Uncle Tuck is as well.
Well, I'll leave it up depending on your character's wisdom. I think any character of those two that's paying close attention, if you consider your character when he says that he has not seen something like this before.
Merlin has a tell when he thinks someone is being dishonest, which it breaks his heart, by the way, to witness. And his little ear twitches. And so his ear twitches, but ever polite, says, "Well, I'm pleased to give you a new experience in your life. I again, I know not who sent this, but I believe it to be intended for you."
I appreciate that very much, my friend. You see his kids go, basically, the kids look at the scroll and say, Daddy, can we take that inside? We want to put that up in the library. And he says, and again, I would say that for those who are listening and are wise, yeah, the kid said library, but there's also apparently a library in this farmhouse. So you see, he says, hush up now, youngins, y'all got to go wash your hands, help mom for dinner. And you see that the kids all scoot off. He sort of shakes the scroll and says, be nice to know one day what, beast or kith of the heath saw fit to send something so regal to a humble farmer, but I do appreciate it much, Merlin. Thank you for your kindness.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And Merlin's actually going to replace that letter with another. Carly, I'll ask you to go back and pick one of these other letters or packages now that you have given up. Your ancient scroll.
Hot diggity. A hand knit sweater, please.
Incredible. And is there a destination here that appeals to you?
For the venerable god that dwells in the ancient forest.
Incredible. So you see, as your moths flutter overhead, this possum looks at you and says, well, I'll be. Thankful so much for this. We aim for hospitality here, especially for a noble moth tender. Do you and your companions need a place to stay for the night? We keep that barn warm as can be, and we'd be happy to bring out blankets and pillows and all manner as such.
Oh, well, let me just check with the rest of my party. And Merlin flaps over to the rest of you and says, I don't want to speak ill of our host here, but I'm not sure he's being entirely honest. And if it's not too much trouble with you all, I think I'd like to stay here for the night and just kind of see what the deal is.
Well, that sounds great for me. I'd love to see if we could get these bees tucked away in that top of the barn where I could get some of this frost honey out so they wouldn't have so much of a load to carry.
The bees have visibly grown in size since earlier today.
Swollen bees.
They're very it seems like they store their honey in the top of their body, so their flight is they're top heavy. They sort of move around. You see that Jem rushes inside real quick, and Susie, his wife, runs out and says, Oh, thank you, kind folks. I'm just bringing out blankets and other things and such for y'all to carry. And she hands a parcel, which you can feel from handling it, Merlin, is soft and downy and heavy like a sweater, and smells of fresh wool and yarn. And you see that she looks up at you and says, where this is headed to, this is just headed to one of those, there's an old dolmen downriver, less than a day's journey, but it's deep in the forest, and the person this is for is more than happy to pick it up there. And once again, you get a strange impression of only getting half the story.
Oh, thank you, madam. Well, I believe my moth will know what to do. And I snap my finger, and one of the moths comes over, and we sort of share a glance, like something's up.
This is a moth. This is your most suspicious moth. This moth comes up. She flies. This is a moth who a couple times has like not let go of a package. Like someone's like, "Oh, thank you," and the moth is like, "Wait a minute. How do I know?" And you see the moth takes the sweater, eyes you, nods conspiratorially, and flitters up to the rest of the moths. For Jace and Zach, are you guys beholding this interaction, or are you headed elsewhere in the town?
Jace has been trying to tie their boot that's come undone for the last 15 minutes, so has not really seen what's going on, but just is trying to make sure that everyone's still near them.
Oh.
And Zach, yeah.
Oh, Zach is frantically trying to figure out how he's going to get seesaws because he was bluffing on that deal. And he has to figure out how to trade his way to that.
Zach, you look around and in your head just going seesaws, 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 and certain things are like lighting up in your eye where you're like, okay, the siding of that house is flat planks of wood. That over there is another. We just need the metal handles. There's some cleats on the outside of that beetle trough. Like you could pop those up to get a handle for a seat. Just looking around at the goods this town has. Raw materials you are less concerned about here in the town. The construction and the swift construction eludes you a little bit in this moment. But Zach, I think you look up and notice too, because Horus the hare has kind of gone away. I think Jace, they are just kind of seated with their rump in a snowbank, trying to figure out the laces of their boots in this moment, as you are kind of like trying to put two and two together about how you're going to do this.
I'm going to say to Jace, what can I do for you?
No one's ever asked me that before.
Well, don't make a big thing about it.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, I think I'm just going to get rid of the laces and the straps on my boots and just go freewheeling it. So I'm just going to take this strap off, I think. So Jace pulls off the like leather straps of their boots.
The leather straps of the boots come off. It's loose on your foot. And there is a degree of nonchalance of having an unstrapped boot there, but also might be helpful to have it some other way. Jace, you also look over and see a yard full of these happy yelling possum children, many of them around your age, some a little older, many a little younger. And you see their mom and dad look out as they collect blankets and such for you and your companions, and are kind of smiling. And you see the mom and dad like beholding these children with pure maternal and paternal comfort and affection, and a knowledge that they have made a safe home for these kids. What's Jace feeling this?
Jace kind of mutters to no one in particular. Bunch of schmucks. Bunch of dummies.
I think Merlin hears them, and the same ear that like twitches again and says, "There's something amiss here, right? I'm not the only one clocking it."
Yeah, I hate these people.
Well, I don't know if I hate them. I don't know if I'd rush to judgment quite like that, but My moth has never mistakenly delivered a letter, and I feel like that's the sort of thing this man should have been expecting. I don't
Oh.
know.
No, I feel it too, and it's not because I hate these people because they're happy. Um, it seems they have some strange things coming and going, and they don't acknowledge either. I think I know what to do. One thing that Elder Tuck has always been able to do is curry favor with children because he has the cutest bumble in the whole world. So he calls Benny over with just a little whistle and a hand gesture, and Benny comes over. He whispers in Benny's little bumblebee head, and the bumble goes kind of towards the children, and they all race forward to pet Benny. Benny is a very cute bumble, very, very fluffy. Your hand could get lost in the cool, soft fur of Benny, and you want to just give him all the hugs and all the kisses, and he appreciates every one of them.
Amazing. You see one of the little possum children calls up and says, "Hey, mister, can we play with your bumble?"
Absolutely. He'd love nothing more than that.
You see they go, "Wow!" You see that they get out a little piece of twine that Benny happily takes in his mouth, and they get on what looks like just an old toboggan and make a little, almost like a water surfer pyramid of children holding on to Benny as he, wow, 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 zooming back and forth over the snowy farmyard. Benny just giving them the ride of a lifetime. You see Jem comes out and takes his hat off again and says, "Well, I'll be, mister. That's awful kind of you. I know that your livelihood is in them bumbles. Thank you so much for sharing it with the youngins. I don't think they've ever had a bumble ride like that before."
Well, absolutely any time. If I may ask, small or large or whichever size favor you believe it to be, these bees are actually growing heavier by the day with their frost honey, and I would love to give you some of this if you would allow me to use your apiary, if I'm not mistaken, at the top of your barn tonight.
Oh, by all means, we would gladly take a jar of honey, and you keep the rest for yourself, Shepherd. That sounds as lovely as could be. No, Lord knows we don't have any bumbles up in the rafters, so we'd be happy to the barn up there and do nothing but letting the cold in. Please, by all means, have at it.
At this moment, Uncle Tuck is going to use a coin. He notices a strange amulet on the farmer, and he uses the revealing something hidden about the person in front of you and asks them what it is. So he sees the little glimmer of the amulet, and he says, "Oh, if you don't mind me asking, also, what is that there on your breast?"
He looks up. By the way, Susie already has blankets set up in the barn. You see that she's helping Zach with like Knick-Knack to get Knick-Knack in there, and Knick-Knack is already excited to have all the wares taken off his back so he can kind of jump around again. Jace, you're looking at all these possum kids going over with this like bumble ride. Jem looks up at you, having looked and seen this little amulet there. He looks up and says, "Oh, this old thing. Oh, well." And you see he looks into Elder Tuck's eyes and sees the power of a man of a lot of years and experience who could be lied to, but not successfully. And you see he looks up and says, "An old friend gave this to me long time ago. Folks don't expect much of farming folk, not those that come in from Hightower anyway." And here you see his eyes shoot up to that cold and lonely tower at the top of the waterfall. And you see he looks back at you and says, "Yeah, there are lots of things that people don't assume a farmer could ever be. And it takes a very wise sort to trust the common folk with knowledge that is hoarded greedily by too many. And there was one such friend of mine that had that kind of trust and faith in working folk. My old friend Houston gave this to me.
You guessed it. Merlin heard that. But Merlin is still trying to get a beat on the situation and try to figure out if this gem is trustworthy. And so he doesn't spill the beans just yet. He just says, Houston? Is that what you said?
He looks over to see, obviously, with a bat, you have pretty incredible hearing. So I think he's still by the gate and you're like in the barn, like way across the field.
Yeah, I'm like helping one of the bumbles get into the apiary. I'm just like, Houston?
And he goes, oh my, Mr. Moth Tender, you have some pretty spectacular ears. Yes. Well, listen, you've had a long journey. Why don't you all go get settled in the barn and we'll bring out dinner as soon as the youngins are fed. Does that sound all right?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so kindly.
We cut to a moment later. There is a rich and musky smelling little peat fire. This beautiful little peat fire. It just smells so woodsy and mossy, and the smoke is so fragrant. In a little brazier in the middle of the barn that's doing a nice job heating up the barn. Up in the roof, Elder Tuck has done the first round of helping the bees to produce their first honey. You've got something like 20 big old jars with wax paper wrapped around the top up there. The moths have all attached themselves to the actual like wooden pillars of the barn and are slowly like fanning their wings. They all look like eyes like half closed in the fiery heat, just like warming up. Incredible. And still a little bit restless and playful, but at this moment sort of behaving himself. He's like chewing on like a big wooden log, like a dog with a bone, is Knick-Knack the beetle, with all of the wares kind of taken and tended to beside him. Actually, unlike he said, Jem and Susie did not bring dinner out to you. A little point of interest. A lot of the youngins brought out big plates of farm-made biscuits and fresh gravy with mushrooms in it, and a really little beautiful thing of like baked potato and some sort of fresh greens and asparagus all together. A big old farmhouse meal brought out in front of you. What are each of you doing as you share your thoughts about where you have arrived here in Bristlebroom with each other?
Chase is refusing to eat because they don't trust the youngins.
So Jace, as you don't eat, you see one of the very sweet bumbles, it returning the favor of you feeding it a rock earlier, brings down a half-filled jar of just honey for your dinner.
Oh, Jace puts a little paw in and just kind of bashfully starts eating the
honey. Incredible. For the other three.
Elder Tuck is selecting the finest jar of frost honey for the hosts, and he finds it. There is a slight, multicolored shimmer of the purest frost honey, and he's selected the jar with the best look and fragrance, and gives it to one of the little possum children to supply to their family.
Incredible. And for Zach and Merlin.
Merlin looks just like one of those videos of like a rehabilitated fruit bat eating bananas with like its mouth full. So just has like mashed potato in his mouth while he's sitting and thinking, and then sort of scooches over to Zach and says, "Did I ever tell you about Houston, my mentor?"
I don't believe so. It's possible you did, and my mind was elsewhere. If so, I apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay. Honestly, the fact that you don't always pay 100% attention to me makes it easier to trust you.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what to do about the fact that my mentor gave this slightly dishonest man an amulet, an object of power. He could even be, for all I know, the person who sent him the magic scrolls. It seems weird that the farmer would disavow any knowledge of it when he has something like an amulet hanging around him. Don't you think that's weird?
Now, is it possible that in the same way you don't trust the farmer doesn't trust you?
Oh,
And
but
the
I'm very
issue is-
trustworthy.
Oh, I agree. I think so too, but I am not everyone. And it is possible that you just need to earn the farmer's trust a little. It's also possible that the farmer is hiding from us and is nefarious. It could go either way.
The barn door creaks open, announcing three things: that night has fallen, that there are no stars gleaming, but instead a gust of snowflakes, and the farmer enters, Jem, having heard the conversation on his way to the barn. He looks at you and says, "Well, I reckon trust is in short supply around here.
Oh,
If
I'm
there
sorry.
It's all right. Do you carry something that you might show me to gain my trust?" And he looks directly at Zach when he says that. Jace, you notice something poking out of the farmer's pocket. You recognize it because you have one just like it. You see a fresh orchid. And that's where we're going to stop our adventure today. One by one, real quick. This has been such a fun stream. I love it so much. Real quick, we'll go down the list. Carly, where can we find you? What should we go check out?
Yes, so I play with Rude Tales of Magic, rudetales.magic.com. You can listen to us on any podcast app of your choice, pretty much. And we release episodes every other Tuesday.
Woo! Nick, where should we check you out?
Fun City. Every Friday, you could catch Fun City on your podcast app. Please subscribe to the Patreon. Help support the show. Help support Fortunate Horse. Help support all of us. Thank you.
Patreon.
Oh, woo! Joseph, where should we check you out?
I make Welcome to Night Vale. You go to nightvalepresents.com. There's a bunch of shows that I make. I also have a bunch of books in bookstores if you look for them. And I have actually 2 more coming out this year. Just one of them hasn't been announced yet, so look for those.
Incredible. Alex, where can we check you out?
thesquirrelnyc.com. Right now we have virtual classes and shows, and you can find us on socials at the Squirrel NYC on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. Take classes with us, watch shows.
Incredible. My name is Brennan Mulligan. You can check out my DMing work over at Dimension 20, College Humor's actual play D&D show, dropout.tv, or check us out on youtube.com/Dimension20 show. You can find me at Brennan LM on Twitter, at Brennan Mulligan on Instagram. What a hoot. Shout out to J Dragon Possum Creek Games for Wanderhome. Woo!
Yeah.
Incredible game. Go check it out. Go buy it. Amazing game. Thank you all so much for tuning into this Fortunate Horse Dream Stream. We'll catch you next time. Good night, everyone.
Bye.